Chapter 38:18. This, so many monsters. Jian Wushuang, while energetically evoking the field of magic light, also covered the power of his soul over those streams of light, which can clearly sense the scene in this range of millions of miles. But at this point, he completely choked. He hadn't exposed the magic light field before, but only used his own soul to investigate, and he could only sense a range of thousands of miles at a time. Thousands of miles, and millions of miles, the gap is too big. And there are too many monsters within a million miles. There are countless violent and violent breaths, at least tens of thousands. Breaking, intruder, kill him, roar, roar. And many monsters within a million miles have been awakened by the magic light field of Sword Unparalleled. I saw a large number of monsters, with dozens of heads gathered together, and hundreds more heads gathered together. From all aspects, they came violently. Jian Wushuang is already in the center of these monsters. If so many monsters come together, even if I am 10 times stronger, I won't be able to stop them. Jian Wushuang's eyes widened. The lowest strength can be comparable to the monster dominated by the higher, tens of thousands. Sweeping this star field is no longer a problem. Jian Wushuang's strength is strong, but in the face of so many monsters, there is no room for competition. Escape, I have to escape the sight of these monsters. At least I can't let these monsters surround me, or I will really die. The sword has no double-faced dignity. With the help of the magic light field, he can easily sense the position of many monsters within a million miles, and then he is the first to burst out his fastest speed. In terms of speed, with the help of Shuangguang Yantianyi, his speed is a lot faster than that of the top master. These monsters in the dim magic domain are not good at speed, even if they are elite-level monsters. It is also far behind him in speed. He fled at the fastest speed the first time, at least the thousands of monsters chased and killed behind him could not catch up. What he has to do now is to find a way to avoid those monsters who are siege. 3,000 miles away in the front direction, there are about 40 monsters, elite level with 2 ends, and quickly avoid. There are more than 300 monsters in this direction. Hurry up. You can't go here, bypass first. Jian Wushuang relies on being able to sense the position of those monsters, constantly changing the direction and position within a range of hundreds of miles, and avoiding a team of monsters coming from the siege. But after a moment of effort, Jian Wushuang's brow frowned again. No, I can't go on like this anymore. The sword was cold on both sides. Although I can sense their position in advance and avoid these monsters as much as possible, the magic light field I cast is too dazzling. Although these monsters are stupid, they can still sense the existence of this field. Since they have a field, they know that I am still in this area, and then they desperately come towards the center of the field without retreating. In this way, when the surrounding encirclement slowly shrinks, I want to avoid it. Can't be avoided. In the magic light field, although he can sense the positions of those monsters in advance, so as to avoid those monsters. But the same magic light realm also made him a light in this dim magic realm, and also exposed his position. Those monsters can know that he is still in this area according to the realm, and it must be in the realm. At the very center, he will continue to siege him. Maybe at 1:30 he can still entangle with these monsters, but after a long time, there are more and more monsters gathered around him, and the circle is getting closer and tighter, then he can't avoid it. To this day, the only way to get rid of the immediate dilemma is to find an area with no monsters or fewer monsters within the million-mile range covered by the magic light field, and get there as quickly as possible, and then converge the field and hide the figure. Jian Wushuang secretly said. He said it was easy, but in fact he knew for himself that there were monsters in the area within a million miles or no monsters. Although there were several places, the monsters in that area played because the monsters originally gathered there were crazy came over to where they were. In other words, if you want to go to that place, you have to break through the obstacles of a lot of monsters in front of them. Those monsters, Jian Wushuang carefully calculated, almost cannot be avoided. Within a million miles that I can sense now, there are 4 areas where I can hide my body. I have to encounter a lot of monsters in any of these 4 areas. I can't avoid it. But by comparison, there are fewer monsters encountered along the road. Jian's eyes looked like electricity. He relied on the magic light field to master everything within a 1,000,000-mile radius, and naturally knew the number of monsters in those areas. There are a lot of monsters in all possible areas, 3 of them are densely packed. At least swords have to break through the obstacles of 5 to 6, and the number of monsters encountered by each one is quite large. In the last area, the number of monsters should be a lot less, but he has to get there. Even if he tries to avoid as much as possible, at least he will encounter obstacles from triple monsters. Jian Wushuang studied it carefully. The 3 monsters, fortunately, only had about 100 heads, and less than 10 heads at the elite level, but they could not bring him too much trouble. After all, once his hazy sword came out, it could completely crush the hundreds of monsters. For the 3rd monster, although the number of gathered monsters is more important than the first, there are about 300 heads, but there are not many elites. Jian Wushuang also has the confidence to break through the obstacle of this heavy monster. On the contrary, it is the 2nd monster obstacle in the middle, and now it has gathered more than 700 monsters, of which the elite level is no less than 40. The obstacle of this heavy monster is more difficult than the 1st and 3rd. Much more. However, although it is difficult, it is too much compared with other areas. There are even thousands of monsters gathered in other areas. I have no choice but to break. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly, his eyes flashed sharply, and the wings behind him suddenly stretched out, rushing towards the area blocked by the triple monster group. Along the way, he naturally avoided other monsters as much as possible, but the triple monster obstruction was inevitable. Soon, Jian Wushuang encountered the obstacle of the 1st monster. Emperor Zhoutian Deer, click in and give a good comment. The higher the score, the faster the update. It is said that a beautiful wife was found at the end of the new score. Chapter 38:19. The first obstacle is the least monster among the 3 obstacles and the easiest to break through. Looking at the hundreds of monsters swarming directly in front of him, the sword flickered in his eyes. Kill it. Intruder, it. Roar. The hundreds of monsters were crazy and violent. They didn't know how to cooperate. The hundreds of monsters swarmed over their swords. Buzzing. The mist was rushing around, spreading rapidly. With the suppression effect of the magic light field, the hundreds of monsters covered most of them instantly. Immediately, the dazzling yet chilling light suddenly lit. The strongest swordplay. Almost instantly, half of the hundreds of monsters were cut directly by the dazzling zhenguang, and a large number of monster corpses fell down. This first monster obstruction, it collapsed in an instant. Although a small number of monsters rushed up, Jian Wushuang could solve it very easily. However, between the light and fire, Jian Wushuang has already broken through this heavy monster obstacle. However, Jian Wushuang did not have the slightest joy. After all, among the 3 obstacles, the first one is the easiest. Of course, it is easy for him to break through. But the 2nd monster obstacle that will be encountered next is his problem. This 2nd hindrance has now gathered almost 800 monsters. Even the elite comparable to the top dominator, there are about 50. So many monsters, I want to kill all of them is impossible. Speed broke through in the fastest time. Jian Wushuang licked his lips. In terms of strength, he is much stronger than these monsters. In terms of speed, these monsters are far from being comparable to him. Therefore, even if he faces a monster like 800 heads, he still has the possibility to break through. Soon, Jian Wushuang met the 800 obstacle monster with the 2nd obstacle. 800 heads of monsters gathered together and covered the sky like a tide-like sword. As soon as they saw Jian Wushuang, those monsters had already shot, and across the distance a large number of sword lights greeted Jian Wushuang. The sword Wushuang has no fear at all. The guardian swordsmanship of the earth is in full play. There are 32 major sword areas, which can easily resist these swords. This is where these monsters are inferior to human cultivators. If Jian Wushuang is not facing these stupid monsters, but human beings dominate the sword, so many masters, Jian Wushuang would never dare to break through them. Because human beings dominate, even if they are unfamiliar with each other, they have similar strengths, and can still carry out some simple cooperation. Even if there is no blessing from the magic array, it is a simple superposition of powers. Over 800 masters of superpowers can be superimposed. That power can be estimated to reach the level of the third level of domination. Even if the sword has the earth to protect, this body swordplay can't stop the power of the third level. But these monsters are far worse than human domination. They don't know how to cooperate at all. They don't even the simplest superposition of powers. They only attack stupidly. Although the number of this attack is large, the powers are not superimposed, and they can't constitute too much swordsman. Threat. Jian Wushuang carried the attacks of these monsters and broke into the monster group directly. Later, by the suppression of the realm, the speed of Jian Wushuang and the strange dark light phantom all burst out. I saw a strange shape flickering recklessly among the monsters, easily passing through a famous monster, and even if he encountered a sword blocking the road, he shot directly and easily killed the opponent. And those monsters, it is almost difficult to capture the shadow of Jian Wushuang, let alone their speed cannot keep up, and they cannot blindly make indiscriminate attacks. After all, there are also around the location of Jian Wushuang plenty of their companions. This led to Jian Wushuang in the monster circle, and was hardly blocked. Just for a moment, Jian Wushuang rushed straight through this encirclement. It's a lot easier than I thought. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently at the large number of monsters who were still crazy to chase after him. Triple obstacles. This second obstacle is the most difficult. Jian Wushuang thought that he would need to spend more hands and feet before he could break through. However, he didn't expect to break through. It was so easy. Although the number of these monsters is very large, they basically did not put much pressure on him. Stupid. Not only stupid, but even none of these monsters has a conductor. Jian Wushuang smiled. These 800 monsters are totally fighting for themselves, and they act according to their consciousness. If one of them had a stronger command, even if it was only the most basic command, he would not break through so easily. The second obstacle is so easy to come through. As for the final third obstacle, it is even easier. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. It didn't take long for him to encounter the third obstacle. There were only 300 monsters standing in front of him this time, and he easily broke through. Since then, the 3 obstacles in front of him completely broke through, and the road ahead of him was unimpeded, and Jian Wushuang also easily came to the area he had previously selected, and then the field immediately converged, and his breath was immediately hidden. Stand up. Without the realm, Jian Wushuang can no longer sense monsters within 1,000,000 miles of the area, but these same monsters have completely lost their sights. Next, a large number of monsters are still hunting around the area where Jian Wushuang is located, but Jian Wushuang has already found a place to hide. These monsters have no basic soul perception ability, just like blind people. Of course, they can't find it. To sword unparalleled. Behind a boulder, Jian Wushuang hid here. And at this moment he was sitting cross-legged with him, and in front of him, hovering the shard of life-glowing nuclei. This life nuclear fragment, curious feeling. Jian Wushuang just stared at the shard of life in front of him. Although he had obtained the nuclear fragment from that boulder before, he was fleeing all the way and had no time to investigate. Until now, he was able to observe the nuclear debris up close. This life nuclear fragment, when you take a closer look, is actually just a small, white piece of elite, but it is within this white piece that it exudes an extremely unique atmosphere. And Jian Wushuang has sensed the extremely rich cosmic lore contained in this small white block for the first time. Obviously, he told the flame that this nuclear fragment of life could indeed help him to understand the laws of the universe. Dear, click in and give a good comment. The higher the score, the faster the update. It is said that a beautiful wife was found at the end of the new score. Chapter 3820. Magic Flame, what should I do now? Jian Wushuang asked. Master, you should be able to sense the special power contained in this life nuclear fragment. Moyan said. Well. Jian Wushuang nodded. This power contains very strong laws of the universe. Of course, that is the cosmic power, and it is also a symbol of the unique power of the undead ghost. As long as the immortal ghost grows to its peak, he can reach the supremacy, because his core of life contains cosmic power. Depending on the power of the universe, he can easily understand the laws of the universe. Devil Flame smiled. But the undead ghost has long died, and the life core has been broken. Now the life core fragment you get should contain very little cosmic power, but it still has great usefulness for you, Master. You can directly choose to absorb the cosmic power of this life nuclear fragment. Direct absorption? Jian Wushuang stunned, and said, that's the power of the universe. A ruler in our area is going to absorb the power of the universe. Isn't he looking for death? Although the Master is assured, the cosmic power really has incredible power. Even the supreme level strong can't bear this kind of cosmic power. Perhaps those cosmic hegemons who are already invincible in the supremacy are eligible. Think about the power of the universe, and of course you can't withstand the power of the universe, but you won't be able to bear it, too. Magic Flame said. What do you mean? Jian Wushuang frowned. In fact, it's very simple. The universe cycles and has its own laws. It's impossible for the universe to master such incredible powers as cosmic power. So the Master, you absorb the cosmic power in this nucleus. The result is cosmic power. Although it can be absorbed, it will immediately dissipate in your body. However, the process of dissipating cosmic power is completed in your body. Although most of the cosmic laws contained in it will also gradually dissipate, you can grasp so much in the process of passing. The law of the universe, have you ever understood the Master? Mo Yang laughed. Jian Wushuang raised his brow, and he already understood the meaning of the magic flame. Yes, the cosmic power, the supreme power of the vast universe, is more sublime than the laws of the universe, and even the supreme strong cannot be involved. But what he wants to grasp is not the cosmic power, but the trace of the cosmic laws contained in the cosmic power. It's like an ordinary person who wants him to face up against an invincible army. It must be heaven and earth. But if he was just asked to deal with a very ordinary soldier in the army, he would have a great chance. That's the truth. Yes, what I want to comprehend is just a trace of the law of the universe. As for the power of the universe, it has nothing to do with me. Jian Wushuang smiled and let go. Master, try it first, Moyan said. Jian Wushuang nodded. He couldn't completely trust the flames. Although the magic flame said that it would not encounter any danger in absorbing this cosmic power, Jian Wushuang also felt some reason and was willing to try, but he was careful in the process of this attempt. As long as there was a slight error, will stop immediately. But obviously Jian Wushuang was thinking too much. His process of absorbing the power of the universe was smooth and did not encounter any danger. And after the cosmic power entered his body, just like the magic flame said, it began to dissipate immediately, and the dissipating process did not cause him any harm. This made Jian Wushuang slowly let go of his caution, and then he began to enlighten carefully. The universe is vast. The cosmic power of the universe is supreme, even the laws of the universe are far from comparable. The undead ghost is also because of its uniqueness, it will have so many cosmic powers in its core. Jian Wushuang now only gets a small piece of life nuclear debris, and the cosmic power contained is only a trace. There are many laws of the universe. In the process of cosmic power dissipating and passing away, a large number of cosmic laws contained in cosmic power are also gradually dissipating. In this process, Jian Wushuang is extremely clear in feeling. This moment was the closest he had to the laws of the universe. Although the level has the coming of the law of the universe, that coming is only on his body, and the coming of the law of the universe, he just can sense the power of the law of the universe. But this time, the laws of the universe dissipated from his body, that is, dissipated, but actually it was disintegrated and transformed into something else. This process, so close to him, helped him too much. The law of the universe, is this the law of the universe? At this moment, Jian Wushuang directly saw the essence of the law of the universe and knew how the law of the universe was shaped. His understanding and knowledge of the laws of the universe are also getting higher and higher, and he is getting closer to understanding. Coming soon, you can understand immediately. With a hint of ecstasy in his heart, Jian Wushuang can feel his great progress in the laws of the universe. Suddenly, the shard of life nucleus, which was originally dazzling with light, shook slightly, the light dimmed immediately, and the smash broke completely. The cosmic power absorbed by the sword is also interrupted immediately. Without the power of the universe, there would be no dissipation of the laws of the universe. Jian Wushuang calmed down completely. Do not. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes fiercely and let out a growl, and his eyes were deeply unwilling. Jian Wushuang is extremely unwilling. He clearly felt that he could immediately comprehend the laws of the universe, and he could even say that half of his feet had entered the threshold of the laws of the universe. But as a result, at this most critical time, the cosmic power of the life nucleus fragments was exhausted. His comprehension stopped immediately. He got stuck there, infinitely close to understanding the laws of the universe, but in the end, he was still a little behind. Right, it's just a tiny bit, a very small distance. But without the decomposition and passing of the cosmic power, this trace is also a ditch of heaven and earth. How can this happen? Obviously, I will soon be enlightened. Obviously, there is only a slight difference. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, roaring and screaming wildly, and his heart was furious. God seems to be joking with him. Obviously, he will soon understand the laws of the universe. Once he understands that it is a natural step to the sky, not only the surge in strength, but also completely pass the test of the second sky of the Red Cloud Realm, and he can also master Tianbei. However, at the last moment, it suddenly stopped. Chapter 38:21. Life nuclear fragments have completely shattered and dim, and this time the chance is indeed over. But Jian Wushuang's understanding of the cosmic circle is still a little bit worse. Maybe Jian Wushuang can take some time to understand this, but it is also possible that he will still be stuck on this step. What to do? Do you want me to a piece of life nuclear fragment? Jian Wushuang whispered. He robbed a piece of life and nuclear this time. Although the process was not too dangerous, it was quite difficult. This time he succeeded because the monsters didn't have much defense. After this time, he can be sure that the monsters will protect the nuclear debris much better than before, plus what he got before was the most recent and easiest life nuclear fragment on the bloodstone, but the other 3 life nuclear fragments were not so easy to obtain. In this case, Jian Wushuang went to snatch, the risk is much greater than before. However, in this situation, he wants to understand a trace of the universe's laws as soon as possible, and only has the way to win the life nuclear fragments. Fight, even if the risk is great, I must fight too. What's more, this time I came to the Dark Demon Realm, this was for adventure, in order to find the feeling of life and death, and now there is such a great opportunity in front of me, how can I step back? The second block of life fragments, I must find ways to get them. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly, and his heart was determined. However, although it was decided, Jian Wushuang did not act immediately. He just got the first life nuclear fragment, and caused a huge movement in this dim demon domain, and alarmed a lot of monsters. Now that the darkened realm has not completely calmed down, the countless monsters are still frantically searching for his tracks, and at this time he is naturally unsuitable to continue adventure. You have to wait a little longer, and when this dim demon field gradually subsides, the monsters don't search for his position crazy before he can leave. Behind the boulder, Jian Wushuang hides his own breath and is cautiously lurking. During this period, there were also many monsters passing by around him, but none of them were found. This lurking lurked for a whole year. 1 year later, Jian Wushuang's soul perception found that there were almost no monster groups searching around within thousands of miles. Obviously, the previous storm was already quiet. The dim demon realm also restored the former calm. Jian Wushuang, who had been lurking for a full year, set off again. The previous escape has made Jian Wushuang far away from the bloodstone that has the life nuclear fragment. However, when Sword Wushuang had escaped before, he always remembered his escape route, so he could find the bloodstone. However, when he fled, he blasted his fastest speed all the way, and it took a short time to reach this area. But now he has to be careful, avoiding the monsters around him. The speed is much slower. It took him a few days to return to the surrounding area of the bloodstone. Came back here, but when Jian Wushuang saw the scene in front of him, Jian Wushuang froze. I saw in his soul perception that the 3 life nucleus fragments remaining on the bloodstone were indeed intactly suspended above the bloodstone, but there was an endless amount of darkness around the bloodstone. There are more red monsters in number than these dark red monsters. When Jian Wushuang came to the life nuclear fragments 1 year ago, there were only 1,000 monsters around the bloodstone. But now the dark red monsters around this bloodstone add up. I am afraid that there must be 6 or 7,000 heads. In terms of quality, the elite-level monsters have gathered more than 200 heads. The most important thing is that among these 6 or 7,000 monsters, Jian Wushuang also felt 2 extremely violent and terrible breath. The 2 monsters. Jian Wushuang immediately locked the 2 monsters. It looks the same as a normal dark red monster, except that the size of these 2 monsters is obviously larger than the other monsters, and the eyes of these 2 monsters are faintly dark red and cold. It's stronger than that elite-level monster. The sword has no double-sided color and is ugly. Trouble is big. It is really troublesome. Although he had previously guessed that with the previous robbery, these monsters were wary, and the protection of life nuclear debris was definitely more stringent, but Jian Wushuang thought that at most there were more monsters around. However, I didn't expect that there were 6 or 7,000 more heads. The most important thing is that there are 2 more terrible monsters inside. Those 2-headed monsters are obviously not comparable to the elite-level monsters. You know, the elite-level monsters can also compete with the top human beings, and now such stronger monsters are likely to reach the level of second-level domination. Jian Wushuang is sensing this. When the 2-headed monster, they also noticed a very dangerous breath from the 2-headed monster. Obviously, these 2 monsters can threaten him. If I do show my whole cards, my normal strength will explode to the extreme. Relying on my understanding of the origin of Kendo, my combat power is also the second level to dominate the level, and even relying on swordsmanship, I should be able to overpower Yu to dominate the first. The primary master of the series, but the 2 larger monsters in the monster group now, I feel afraid that it is slightly stronger than the master of Yu. There are 2 monsters like this, and there are 6 or 7,000 other monsters around. I want to break in and take that life nuclear fragment. It's too difficult. Jian Wushuang frowned. Obviously, the difficulty of this robbery is definitely 10 times or even dozens of times higher than that of the first nuclear fragment. I thought that the monsters in this dim demonic field were the strongest kind of monsters, but now it seems that this is not the case. The 2 larger monsters I see now should be called Jiang level monster. Jian Wushuang has given the 2 larger monsters a title. General level monsters, fighting power is enough to rival the second level domination. Fortunately, although these 2 monsters are more powerful, their perception ability is not much stronger than the elite monsters. I hid in this void and concealed the breath, and these 2 monsters could not find me. Jian Wushuang eyes slightly hesitantly. No hurry, I'll wait here first to see if the 2 general monsters will leave here. Dear, click in and give a good comment. The higher the score, the faster the update. It is said that a beautiful wife was found at the end of the new score. Chapter 38-22. Jian Wushuang did not choose to start immediately. He knew very well that when he came to the life nuclear fragments, the 2 general monsters were not there. Not only wasn't he guarded around that bloodstone, not even in this area. Otherwise, why did he not see such a general monster when he was so active and surrounded by countless monsters? Obviously, these 2 monsters are from other areas of the dim demon realm, such as deeper. Since they are not in this area, they know that the life nuclear fragments were rushed over and deliberately rushed over. After this area gradually calms down, the 2 monsters will likely leave and return to their previous places local. If these 2 general monsters leave, it will be less difficult for the sword unparalleled to that nuclear fragment. So he has to wait first. However, what Jian Wushuang did not expect was that he had waited for 3 years in the surroundings, and neither of the 2 general monsters had any intention to leave. It's been 3 years, and there is no movement at all. It seems that the 2 general monsters are not planning to leave. The sword has no double-sided color, which is a bit ugly. The dim demon domain is calm on 3 sides, and the 2 general monsters have no intention to leave, which indicates that the 2 general monsters are expected to be here in the future. It can also prove that these monsters really attach great importance to life nuclear fragments. Maybe one day those 2 general monsters will leave, but who knows when they will go. Jian Wushuang can't wait. He didn't plan to wait any longer. No way, I can only fight. Jian's eyes flashed with cold mang, and in his heart he had begun to plan. This robbery was much more difficult than last time. The last time he had confidence in his own strength, so he made a fortune without much thoughtful planning. But this time it was different. After a moment of effort, Jian Wushuang left. Like the last time, Jian Wushuang approached the bloodstone as much as possible at the beginning, but because the monsters around them have strengthened the vigilance, and the existence of the two general monsters, Jian Wushuang didn't get much closer, so he found. Roar. The skyrocketing roar echoed fiercely in the sky. Silent for 4 years, the darkened demon domain shook again. To date, there are 6,000 or 7,000 monsters guarding the bloodstone, and when he hears this roar, he immediately responds. Shocking, swept up instantly. Intruders. It's him again. Dead, die, kill him. These monsters almost instantly locked Jian Wushuang, and at the same time they saw Jian Wushuang's body shape, which made them even more angry. Although their wisdom is not high, they are very revengeful. 4 years ago, the human practitioner suddenly rushed here, snatched one of their holy things, killed many of their companions, and left. These monsters were already so angry that they hated this human practitioner. Now, this human cultivator has returned, and it seems that his purpose is still the same as before, to their holy things. 2 consecutive shots to snatch, how can they make this human succeed? Countless monsters rose into the sky. This time it was clear that Jian Wushuang's speed was slower. He has not been able to set foot on the bloodstone, but there are already thousands of monsters blocking him in front of him. Among them, the 2 forwards are the most impressive one of the first-level monsters. The 2 monsters did not stay together, but were separated from each other. When Jian Wushuang suddenly shot, both monsters reacted, but one of them was close to Jian Wushuang. Naturally, the first time it was in front, but the other side was on the other side, but it had already started to come. Human practitioners. The dark red pupils blocking the general monster in front of Jian Wushuang exudes a heartbreaking light. Is it you that snatched my holy relic? Are you still daring to a second time? The general monster's wisdom is obviously higher than other monsters, but not too high. Suffering. With a loud scream, this general-level monster and thousands of ordinary and elite monsters behind him slammed into the sword Wushuang like a tide. Not good. The sword has no slight change in color on both sides. He found that the general monster was much faster than the ordinary elite monster. Almost instantly, the general monster appeared in front of him, and its 2 sword-like arms had already been held high. Up. Wow. 2 forest cold sword lights, carrying a terrifying chill, cut off directly across. Space was ruthlessly fought by these 2 swords. Regarding the exquisite power of the sword light power and even the skill of the sword, this level monster is far better than the elite monster. In the face of these 2 swords, Jian Wushuang didn't dare to entrust him, and at the first time, he was able to wave the Huangquan Excalibur. An equally outrageous Zhenguang was cut out and collided with the 2 swords that came from the cross. Clang. The crisp impact sounded, and the light red mist that had permeated the void was dissipated by the mighty impact. Jian's body shape shook slightly, and the whole person suddenly retreated a few steps away. The general monster, however, just leaned back slightly, followed by another big step and continued to kill the sword unparalleled. So strong. Jian's eyes flashed with horror. Just that sword, he has already exploded his power to the extreme. Combined with swordsmanship, it is enough to easily crush ordinary top masters, and he can collide directly with this general monster, which is obviously at an absolute disadvantage. This head-level monster is purely powerful, at least it has reached the extreme of the second-level elementary master, and the blade method it uses is also very good. This general-level monster is much harder than those elite-level monsters. Hurry up. Jian Wushuang turned around and fled without hesitation after a momentary confrontation with the general monster. Xian Guanjiu stretched his wings and the speed of Jian Wushuang broke out. But the interesting thing is that although www.mtlnovel, Jian Wushuang seems to be fleeing, it doesn't give out his fastest speed instantly. It is to keep the speed to a certain degree, at least to let a large number of monsters in the rear feel that there is a chance to kill themselves. Sure enough, Jian Wushuang fled. These monsters, already crazy, were led directly by Jian Wushuang, led by those two monsters. At the same time, a roar of constant roaring sounded, and they were constantly calling on their surrounding companions. In the course of fleeing, Jian Wushuang turned his head to look at the void in the rear, and found that the 6,000 or 7,000 monsters that had been guarding around the bloodstone had already chased most of them at this moment, especially the two monsters at the top. Let Jian Wushuang's eyes light up. Chapter 38-23. The first is more. Come, come and kill me. With a smile of evil charm, Jian Wushuang stretched out Shen Guangzhu Tianyi and fled forward. Behind him, more than 4,000 monsters, led by those two general monsters, chased him crazy. At the same time, the monsters along the way also roared and kept calling for nearby monsters to chase and block. At this moment, Sword Wusu escaped tens of thousands of miles, during which the monsters were still far behind him. Almost. Jian was eyes narrowed, and he immediately changed his direction, and those monsters also changed their direction. Then Jian Wushuang was another turning point on the way, and then went in the direction he had just fled away, that is, the bloodstone where the 3 life nuclear fragments were located. It is equivalent to Jian Wushuang making a big circle on the way and returning the same way. The difference is that he is now returning the same way, and the thousands of monsters are still following him. I took these monsters in such a large circle to bring them back to me, and now around the 3 life nuclear fragments, the guarded monsters estimate that there are at most 2,000 heads. Most the important thing is that there are no 2-level monsters. Only 2,000 level monsters are blocked, which is much easier than the previous 6,000 or 7,000 head monsters and 2-level monsters. I have a chance to break in, but captured life nuclear fragments. Jian Wushuang had a cold smile on his face. Tiaohu Li's Han is Jian Wushuang's plan this time. He used himself as a bait to attract most of the monsters that were guarding around the bloodstone, and then took them in a large circle. Although they are back now, these monsters are behind Jian Wushuang, not blocking him. It's in front of me. This completely gave Jian Wushuang the chance to that nuclear fragment. Boost. Sword flashed in the eyes of Wu Mang, and the speed was no longer hidden, and the fastest speed broke out, rushing towards the bloodstone. And a lot of monsters that followed him were able to keep up with Jian Wushuang in the beginning, but that was because Jian Wushuang was deliberately controlling his speed, but now Jian Wushuang's speed is full, it is difficult for them to keep up. The 2-level monsters barely managed to keep up, but the distance between the 2-level monsters and Sword Unparalleled was still slowly opening. Haha, these monsters are really stupid. I played with them, and I don't know. Jian Wushuang grinned, and after he broke out at full speed, he soon returned to the area where the bloodstone was. The 3 life nuclear fragments are still intact and suspended above the bloodstone. When Jian Wushuang approached this area again, because there was no convergence in speed, the more than 2,000 monsters still guarding around the bloodstone were awakened. When Jian Wushuang arrived in that area, the naked eye could see the life nuclear fragments on the bloodstone. The 2,000 monsters had already gathered together, and they had locked Jian Wushuang. The 2,000+ monsters are directly in front of the sword without double-sided. There are more than 2,000 monsters, even though most of them are of the ordinary level and a small number of elite levels, but the numbers are there after all. If it was not for the fate of the nuclear fate, if Jian Wushuang saw so many monsters blocking his front, he would have no hesitation in choosing to turn around and leave. But now he has no choice. Rush. The sword stunner's eyes flashed with breathtaking breath, the Huangquan Excalibur exudes the cold light, and the sword surged into the sky. Buzzing. A lot of black magic light swept out. The triple magic light field combined with the mysterious realm has been exhibited. This area temporarily suppressed only a few thousand miles around it, including all the 2,000 monsters blocking him. Then Jian Wushuang's figure approached the monster group forward at an amazing speed. Those 2,000 heads of monsters were also astonishing, as if they were killing swords like a wasp. At first glance, it seemed as if an ant had penetrated into a horse honeycomb. But in fact, this ant has an incredible power of destruction. The average wasp cannot stop this ant at all. Wow. 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 I saw a multitude of sword lights, and overwhelmingly cut swords. These sword lights have been cut from all directions, and the number is strange. The sword is no matter how strong and strange, and it is impossible to escape from the overwhelming sword lights. He also lazily took the house, and directly performed the Sword of Earth protection. 32 major sword areas issued a tough and powerful power, which resisted all the swords, but he only weakened more than 20. Then Jian Wushuang came into close contact with these monsters. His sword skills also burst into bursts. Buzzing. I saw the hazy mist rushing like a tide. The strongest swordplay hazy. Facing the obstacles of more than 2,000 monsters, Jian Wushuang did not care about the consumption of divine power. Now, he must rush through the obstacles of these monsters at the fastest speed, rush to the bloodstone, and get the life nuclear fragments. That fate is his ultimate goal. As long as he can get the nuclear fragment, at any cost, he can accept it. The hazy mist swept through, killing dozens of monsters in an instant, and Jian Wushuang's phoenix phantom body also played to the extreme. The body is strange and unpredictable, and the dodges changed time and time again. Most of those monsters who surrounded him, no one could capture him. While killing his enemies with swordsmanship, he approached the bloodstone as close as possible by his own means. These stupid monsters who do not know how to cooperate, despite their large number, are unable to stop Jian Wushuang from advancing at all. But the sword is unparalleled. After all, he is now fully exerting his field, body, and his strongest sword skills. In the face of so many monster siege, his power is too great. Even if he is perfect life, great divine power, but consumed like crazy, he dare not care. After all, there are still a lot of monsters coming in the back, especially the two monsters. The soul of the sword, unparalleled soul, has sensed their existence. These two monsters can reach the battlefield immediately. All die. Jian's eyes were scarlet, and he had completely killed himself. He spared no effort and even disregarded the divine power consumption, frantically beheaded the monsters in front of him, and killed a path from the obstacles of the 2,000 monsters at the fastest speed. He did it. Although he had killed more than 2,000 heads with more than 3,000 heads, he had already passed through the obstacles of these monsters by his body, and appeared on the bloodstone with a flash of his figure. Chapter 38-24. Second more. Life nuclear debris. At a glance, Jian Wushuang locked the 3 remaining life shards on the bloodstone. He did not hesitate to go forward and put the piece of life nuclear fragments closest to him into the ring of war, but he could not collect the remaining 2 pieces of life nuclear fragments. Because the surrounding monsters have already besieged them. Not only the more than 2,000 monsters who blocked him this time, but also those he had been led away from before, including the 2 general monsters and the many monsters who were called to come. Now come to this area, and the monsters gathered around Jian Wushuang. There are already tens of thousands. Tens of thousands of monsters leaked the water around him. Jian Wushuang only felt that there were monsters everywhere. These monsters even blocked his sight, making him unable to approach the other 2 life nuclear fragments at all. I previously absorbed the cosmic power of a life nuclear shard, and there is only a trace to understand the laws of the universe. There is only 1 life nuclear shard in this trace, and the remaining 2 life nuclear shards are not available. It doesn't matter. Jian Wushuang didn't care about those 2 pieces of life core. His most important thing now is to escape from the siege of tens of thousands of monsters. It's desperate. Looking at the countless dark red monsters around him, Jian Wushuang was extremely heavy inside. The surrounding monsters were completely furious when they saw Jian Wushuang take away the second piece of life and nuclear. The life nucleus fragments, but their relics, were previously snatched by the human in front of them, and now they have snatched the second one, and still be their face. Can't tolerate. They cannot tolerate trample on this group by this human being. To kill, you must kill this human. No matter what the price is, even if they all die here, they will not allow the human in front of them to escape again. Kill him. Kill humans. Hey, it. The roar of horrifying sounds rang out from all directions, from the ordinary and elite monsters in all directions. Those 2 general-level monsters also bear the brunt of it, killing them in front of Jian Wushuang. There was a flash of madness in Jian's eyes. Kill it, boom. Jian was body shuddered, and there was a fiery body in his body. The divine power that followed him was as if the dry wood encountered a fiery fire. Dragon extermination, magic power burns. Jian Wushuang has already used this card of his own, and the pain of divine power has made Jian Wushuang's expression look a little hesitant, and his eyes are even scarlet. But as the divine power burned, his strength also suddenly increased. Human, die. The two-level monsters growled, one left and one right appeared first in front of Jian Wushuang. They are much larger than other monsters, and their two sword-like arms are longer and sharper. I saw it. The sound of the space being cut open. These two head-level monsters waved their arms at the same time, and the dazzling sword light came, but two different sword lights, with a breathtaking violent atmosphere, seemed to be able to break new ground. Get me out. Jian Wushuang only glanced coldly at the two general monsters, and Huang Quan swept a sharp sword in his hand. Shocking power, sweeping away with the rich origins of the Kendo universe, there is a faint ripple spreading out in the void, which is the sword swing that can be formed only after the sword power has reached a certain level. The two general monsters saw the sword wave fluctuating, and there was no fear at all. Because one of them had a monster that had played against Jian Wushuang before, it was also a frontal collision. In that collision, Jian Wushuang was at an absolute disadvantage. 1-to-1, this human is not their opponent, not to mention that now they are 2 against 1 at the same time. In their opinion, this human is dead. But in fact, when Jian Wushuang's horrible sword light with sword-like ripples hit their arms, both of the first-class monsters immediately noticed an unprecedented power coming from their arms, and this power was even worse. It is enough to chop their arms. Too strong. That sharp force, enough to cut off all the power, is simply outrageous. The two monsters glared at the pupils and screamed at Chi-Chi, and the huge body of the two was like two mountains. They flew upside down and hit ahead of ordinary and elite along the way. Monster. A random sword, directly destroying the rotten, defeated the two major monsters' joined forces. This is the amazing strength possessed by Jian Wushuang after the exhibition of Zhanlong Mystery. When I cast the Mystery of Dragon Extermination, I am too powerful in power, and it is definitely no less than the second-level higher master, and my understanding of Kendo is my third-level sword, both general monsters. Mighty powers are only the second-level primary dominating level. The sword is far worse than me, 2-to-1, want to fight me? Jian Wushuang flashed a slight disdain. If you do not use Dragon Extermination, these two general monsters are eligible to threaten him. However, once you have performed Dragon Extermination, this general monster can absolutely swept him. Kill it out. The two monsters were defeated, and the sword was double without any pause. When I saw the violent sword intentions rising up and down, Jian Wushuang seemed to be the core of a storm. The horrific swordstorm swept the entire battlefield. He successively waved the Huang Quan Excalibur. With his current power, a sword at hand was stronger than the obscure swordsmanship that was fully exerted before. One sword was enough to easily kill dozens or even hundreds monster. I saw him wielding one sword at a time, every sword was overwhelming. Countless monsters were swept across by swordsmanship, and they were instantly torn apart, and even the life nucleus was smashed on the spot. Jian Wushuang is now a killing machine, killing insanely. Kill all the monsters in front of him. Even the two strongest general monsters were smashed by Jian Wushuang. The tens of thousands of monsters didn't know how to cooperate with each other. Who among them can stop Jian Wushuang? The answer is no. Jian Wushuang completely killed the madness. It was a one-sided slaughter. These monsters are comparable to high-level masters and top-level masters, and they are as weak as ants in his hands. Except for the two general monsters, there is no monster on the battlefield that can block his sword. In a short period of time, thousands of monsters have already died under the mad killing of Jian Wushuang. However, the use of Dragon Mystery to burn the magical power and carry out such a crazy killing made the sword's magical power consumption much faster than before. Dear, click in and give a good comment. The higher the score, the faster the update. It is said that a beautiful wife was found at the end of the new score. Chapter 38-25. Thirdmore. After getting the life core fragment from the Bloodstone, I saw that I was completely surrounded by tens of thousands of monsters. Jian Wushuang had already cast the dragon demystification desperately, and from the time of the dragon demystification to the present, it took only a moment. However, in this moment of kung fu, his divine power has been fully consumed by 40%, plus the previous consumption. His remaining divine power is already less than 50%. But simply, such a crazy killing finally made Jian Wushuang open a gap from the siege of tens of thousands of monsters. This gap is small, and monsters coming from other directions can easily refill this gap, but Jian Wushuang still grasped this opportunity. Xian Guanju Tianyi stretched wildly. Jian Wushuang evoked the power of Xian Guanju Tianyi as much as possible, and then relied on the Shuangguang Phantom method to frantically shuttle among monster groups. In a blink of an eye, it has rushed directly to the extreme edge of the battlefield. Kill. The sword swept across, and suddenly there were countless small sword shadows bursting out. These small sword shadows are like a raindrop pouring on the monsters in front of them. Suddenly, the head of a monster was penetrated through the abdomen, and a large number of monster corpses fell simultaneously. Jianyu swordsmanship created by Jian Wushuang. This sword power is not very strong, after all, it is too scattered and can only be used to kill some weak people. However, he who is performing the mystery of dragon extermination is now extremely powerful, fearing that he is already near the top level of the second level. In the face of this high level of combat power, these only have the first level high. The monster that dominates the top level is the weak. The sword rain came out, and those shadows like raindrops could easily kill a monster. Another group of monster corpses fell, and at this moment, there were fewer than 100 monsters standing in front of Jian Wushuang. The speed of the sword Wushuang burst to the extreme, killing and impacting at the fastest speed, and finally killed from the siege of tens of thousands of monsters. Come out, finally kill it. Sword warriors rejoice. He has been killed from the siege of tens of thousands of monsters, and although he will be blocked by a large number of monsters, he has a lot of room for competition. Escape, escape at the fastest speed. Jian Wushuang did not dare to pause, and fled all the way forward. His speed was already extremely fast. After Shi Zhon's mysterious extinction, the speed was greatly increased again, which is far from being comparable to those monsters behind him. Even the two general monsters are faster than swords. Warriors are a long way off. Those monsters in the rear, Jian Wushuang can be easily thrown away. Just on the way that Jian Wushuang was besieged by these tens of thousands of monsters, a large number of monsters in the vicinity have been rushed over, and now Jian Wushuang is surrounded by a large number of monsters in all directions. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang directly released the triple magic light realm to the maximum, directly covering the range of millions of miles. His soul power was covered by the magic light realm, and he immediately sensed the existence of many monsters within a million miles. Oh my God! After seeing the scene within a million miles of his surroundings, Jian Wushuang was a little dazed. Too much, too much. Perhaps it was because of the last that made these monsters vigilant. There are far more monsters gathered around the life nuclear debris than when they first snatched the life nuclear debris. Jian Wushuang only felt his own. Within the realm, there are monster breaths everywhere, and there are almost hundreds of them, thousands of them gathered together. At a glance, the number of monsters rushing from all directions within a million miles is definitely over 100,000. 100,000 monsters. This figure is really terrifying. Don't look at him who just broke out from the siege of tens of thousands of monsters, but only he himself knew how great his energy consumption was in the short period of time. During that siege, he couldn't continue at all. It takes too long to kill them as quickly as possible. You can have the remaining divine power now, and if you fall into the siege of tens of thousands of monsters, then he will not be able to kill them again. Not to mention, the siege that came around was not only 10,000, but 100,000. As long as Jian Wushuang thinks that he is surrounded by monsters like 100,000 heads, he will numb his scalp. Escape, you must quickly find a way to escape, you must not be surrounded by these monsters. Jian Wushuang also had a hint of panic in his heart. As for dragon extermination, he stopped casting immediately after throwing away the tens of thousands of monsters. After all, this mystery consumes too much divine power. It has only been so effective just now. His divine power is less than 50%. If it continues to burn, I am afraid that his divine power will be exhausted soon, and no monsters are needed. He shot himself and died because the divine power was exhausted and the divine body lost its vitality. Jian Wushuang was fleeing while he was thinking quickly. And the power of his soul also clearly sees the number and location of all monsters within 1,000,000 miles. Too many. There are too many monsters besieging me this time. I can't break through obstacles like the last time. I find a place without monsters to hide. Even I feel that I can't break past this blockade. The sword is ugly without two sides. Yes, he found that although the monsters are low in intelligence, some basic common sense is still there, and the two monsters at the end are obviously more intelligent. The two general monsters know that they are surrounded by them. They can even find the position of the sword unparalleled through the realm. The most important thing is that there are too many monsters. So many monsters, these two general monsters, you can tell them to go down, let them form a huge enveloping net without leaving a gap, so that they have almost no possibility of escaping from their enclosing net. In the simplest form of encirclement, those monsters can still be done under the command of a general monster. I am now trapped in their siege. They just need to slowly approach me, wait for the siege ring to slowly shrink, and naturally I can be easily found. The best way for me now is to use the siege ring that has not been completely reduced before. I rushed out in the weakest place, but Jian Wushuang frowned deeply. He wants to rush out now. But he found that even in the weakest place in this huge encirclement, tens of thousands of monsters could be easily gathered in a short period of time. In other words, if he wants to rush out of this encirclement, at least he has to face the huge obstacle of gathering tens of thousands of monsters. Chapter 38-26. Fourth more. 10,000 heads of monsters still have to run forward. Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly. Before he used the technique of dragon extermination and mass slaughter, he was finally killed from the siege of tens of thousands of monsters. But despite this, he spent a lot of divine power, so far less than 50% of his divine power. But you can break through the front and go through the middle of tens of thousands of monsters. This is twice as difficult as being trapped in the siege of tens of thousands of monsters. In his current state, it is almost impossible to break through the obstacles of tens of thousands of monsters. In other words, he can't break out of this siege now. He has nowhere to run. With more than 100,000 monsters, the huge encirclement formed by those two general-level monsters has completely lost the possibility of escape. These monsters only need to step forward step by step. In the end, I was able to gather around 100,000 monsters to kill me. Jian Wushuang Taiching face. The siege of 100,000 monsters is undoubtedly a huge crisis for him now. However, the more critical the crisis, the more calm Wu Jianshuang appeared. To this day, I want to survive, and I want to escape from the siege of more than 100,000 monsters, and there is only one way. Jian was eyes narrowed. There are countless possibilities in his mind, but in the end, there is really only one chance that he can escape the day of birth and let him survive. No way but to bet. Jian Wushuang gritted his teeth, but his body stopped immediately and fell towards the ground below. Sword Wushuang fell on the top of a large tree, and then sat down in a pan. With a thought, the piece of life nucleus that had just fallen into his hand appeared before him. Life fragmentation, my only vitality is you. Jian Wushuang's eyes twinkled strangely. Now he is surrounded by more than 100,000 monsters, but with such a large circle, those monsters will not appear in front of him at once. This left him a hint of time. Of course, this time will not be too long. It is estimated that at most only a moment of effort. But in this moment of time, Jian Wushuang will not be disturbed. He can completely absorb the cosmic power in this second life nuclear fragment. Relying on the absorption of cosmic power, the trace of his previous difference in the laws of the universe can be completely made up, so that he can truly understand the laws of the universe. By then, he will have a chance to come back. Start. Jian Wushuang didn't dare to waste time. After taking out the life nuclear fragments, he began to absorb them directly. With the experience of the last absorption, this time the sword Wushuang absorbed the power of the universe to make it smoother. As soon as the cosmic power entered his body, it began to dissipate and pass away, along with the vast universe of laws. Jian Wushuang is quietly comprehending and realizing during the passage of the laws of the universe. At the previous enlightenment, his understanding of the nature of the laws of the universe was very clear. The difference was just a trace, and now he once again realized the state of the laws of the universe. Make up. Finally, the last small step, Jian Wushuang crossed. He finally realized the laws of the universe. The law of the universe, is this the law of the universe? Jian Wushuang opened his eyes, waved his hand slightly, and there was a strange power condensed in his hands. This power is the supreme power in the vast universe, but it is also the most pure power of the universe. This power is very powerful. Even though Jian Wushuang now only understands a little bit, he can still feel the infinite possibilities of this power. The law of the universe, generally only the supreme level of the strong are truly qualified to enlighten. Mastering, you need to reach a certain level, or need a certain talent to be able to realize some. As for the ruler, under normal circumstances, it is impossible to realize a trace of the law of the universe, and the law of the universe is also a force that the ruler cannot involve. But the universe is so big that there are always some super monsters. Such monsters, at the level of the master of the rules, can have a glimpse of the laws of the universe, and they are also known as super rare geniuses rarely seen in the billions of stars. Jian Wushuang has just reached this step. The cosmic power is completely absorbed by Jian Wushuang. That piece of life nuclear fragment also lost its original light and faded. But Jian Wushuang didn't care about the nuclear fragment. The law of the universe has been realized for a while, then it's time to try that trick. Jian Wushuang smiled, but closed his eyes again. Time flies. Jian Wushuang is completely silent in his own understanding and study. As for the surrounding danger, he seems to have completely forgotten the general. But whether he forgets it or not, it should come, after all. Hundreds of thousands of dark red monsters, under the leadership of the two monsters, formed a huge encirclement, gradually narrowing the scope, and finally narrowing to less than 10 miles with the sword unparalleled. Here, these monsters have been able to clearly see the existence of sword unparalleled. Roar! Roar! Two shocking roars were emitted from the mouths of the two general monsters. The two-level monster silver eyes stared at Jian Wushuang with a strange light, and the expression was obviously proud. Obviously, they are because he captured Jian Wushuang this time, so that he couldn't be proud of them. Because in their view, since this human has not been able to break out of their encirclement, it is impossible to survive. You know, there are more than 100,000 monsters gathered around. With so many monsters here, even the masters who reach the 3rd or even 4th rank among human practitioners will undoubtedly die. After all, the power of human cultivation is not endless. 100,000 monsters can consume each other to death. When more than 100,000 monsters appeared in the surroundings, Jian Wushuang's eyes slowly opened. Time is just right. Jian Wushuang is smiling, no longer as nervous and frightened as before. Even if there are more than 100,000 monsters around him, he no longer has the slightest fear in his heart. I saw him slowly get up, and at the same time did not forget to pat the dust on his clothes, and then he looked at the countless dark red monsters around him. Monsters, are you ready? Jian Wushuang said suddenly. His words caused many monsters present to stumble, not knowing what he was going to do. At this time, Sword Wushuang waved slowly, a golden light, abruptly swept out. It is said that a beautiful wife was found at the end of the new score. Chapter 38-27. Fifth More. This golden light is truly one of the strongest treasures of Jian Wushuang. The map of Shanhe society is the strongest suppressor of the treasure class, and it is also at the level of needlessness. Its power is extremely powerful, especially the Jiulong Tiantian formation. However, the longest time that this mountain and river club has fallen into the sword without hands, but he has not been able to truly show the true power of this treasure. But now it's different. Understanding a little bit of the law of the universe, I have truly mastered this map of the Shanhe society. Jian Wushuang smiled. Now, let me see the true power of this treasure. After that, Jian Wushuang pointed a finger directly to the void above, and that golden light instantly melted into the void above. Banging! The earth trembled, and then an ancient and extreme breath slowly descended. The original dim sky above, suddenly cracked, followed by a brand new world, slowly appeared in front of the world. This world is beautiful, just like a fairyland in the painting. In fact, this world is a scroll world. Pictures of Shanhesh. Kowloon, the Skylaw Formation, open, boom. Heaven and earth shuddered violently. Among the scroll world above, there are 9 giant continents in the scroll world, but at this moment, dazzling golden light burst out. Full of 9 dragon spirit golden lights, burst out from the middle of Kyushu, and shot at 9 different positions in the void below. In a blink of an eye, a huge golden dragon spirit array was already formed. This huge golden dragon spirit formation has covered a range of 1,000,000 miles, and naturally also covered the 100,000 monsters below. The Jiolong Tiantian formation is taking shape, but this is only the first step of the sword unparalleled. Wow! I saw a lot of black magic light swept away like waves. The magic light field combined with the Shuangguang realm was also expanded to cover the entire field, covering all the 100,000 monsters. However, although the magic light field is covered by those monsters, Jian Wushuang did not immediately exert field oppression. He is still using other means. Dragon mystery. Jian Wushuang meditated in his heart. Suddenly less than 50% of the divine power left in his body burned wildly again. The burning of divine power gave the sword Wushuang stronger power. Followed by sword Wushuang Limang flashed again. OM. The void shook slightly. A large amount of black air flow swept up suddenly, covering the vast void around in a blink of an eye. God, it went dark. Without the light, the whole world is in absolute darkness. Silence. The whole world is silent. Primitive universe. The law of the universe personally gave Jian Wushuang the strongest talented supernatural power, and also Jian Wushuang's strongest hole card for killing tricks. At this moment, it was directly cast out. And the burning of the magical power with the mystery of the dragon, coupled with the blessing of the primitive universe, suddenly made the sword unparalleled power reach a whole new level. This level, according to Jian Wushuang's estimation, should have reached the top of the second-level domination, the strongest realm formed by Jiolong Tiantian array, triple magic light combined with mystic realm, dragon extinction, and strongest card original universe. At this moment, the sword unparalleled is already showing all his whole cards. At the same time, at this moment, he has unprecedented strength. I have done my best to make the most of the power I can exert. This is my extreme. My extreme limit is no longer possible. The next move is bound to be the most terrifying killing move I can play. After this trick, my divine power will inevitably not be much left. In other words, if this trick doesn't die, I will die. There was an unprecedented madness in Jian Wu's eyes. The realm of magic light, absolutely strangling. Kowloon is dying, annihilation, banging. There was a great earthquake in the world, and nearly 50% of the divine power left by Jian Wushuang was almost exhausted at this moment. However, under the crazy consumption of this divine power, the terrible power that erupted in the area of magic light covering the surrounding void was exuded. And among the golden dragon spirit formations covering the surrounding void, there were also sounds of dragons mingling, and the dazzling golden light immediately fell. More than 100,000 monsters in this area are bathed in this golden light. Triple magic light mirror, the strongest power of triple power, strangling in the field. This strangulation kills all living beings in the area covered by the mighty domain power. This is an extremely horrible killing trick, but because it covers a very wide range and is the largest means of group attack, it can be easily killed only by performing strangulation in this area under the premise that the strength is far beyond the opponent. Other side. For example, a powerful master who can kill a group of rule masters in this field can be easily killed through direct strangulation in the field. Juju Tian Fa Zhen, Jingguang Annihilation. This is the stronger means that Jian Wushuang can realize after he has realized a bit of the law of the universe. This heavy means is very similar to the triple strength field of strangling magic mirrors. They are all large-scale killing each other. The difference is that Zhulong formation is a huge suppression of annihilation. This annihilation ability requires a sword. Wushuang mastered a little cosmic law before he could cast it. How high is the threshold? In the field of triple magic mirrors, even if you do master the laws of the universe, you can cast them. Therefore, the golden annihilation of the Zhulong Tianfang formation is stronger than the realm of the triple magic light field, and it is much stronger. And under the amplitude of dragon mystery and the blessing of the primitive universe, whether it is the hang of the field of triple magic light, or the golden annihilation of the Jiuyu Tianfa array, the unprecedented power has exploded. Jian Wushuang came to the show alone. These two major means were suddenly combined together and complemented each other. As a result, a horrible strangling annihilation power broke out. This is the most terrifying trick that Jian Wushuang can play at this stage. Similarly, it is the only way for him to change the situation and escape from the sky. This trick is his ultimate killer. When he was surrounded by more than 100,000 monsters and he couldn't escape, he was already brewing this big killer. Until now, this big killer has finally come out. This move is bound to turn things around. If it cannot be reversed, he will inevitably die, without any possibility. But if the situation is reversed, all this will be clear. Everything, look at God. Jian Wushuang actually showed a smile. Chapter 38-28. The first is more. Golden light annihilation. Field strangling. The combination of the two forms a horrifying annihilation force that directly swept away. The tens of thousands of monsters around Jian Wushuang were still angry, and at the moment they were still a little surprised. Obviously, they don't think this human can escape from them anymore. They can finally kill this human. These monsters are not in a hurry even when they see Jian Wushuang using some means. They don't think that this human can make any waves. However, when that terrible annihilation force swept through, more than 100,000 monsters at this moment turned out angrily and screaming. This roar turned into a mourning even in a blink of an eye. Make these monsters completely without the imaginary terrorist force, sweeping over every monster present. This power is really too strong. This is when Jian Wushuang cast all his whole cards, the strongest power broke out, the golden light annihilation and the realm strangling. Zhulong Tianfu formation, Jin Guang's annihilation is one of the most terrible killing moves of Zhulong Tianfang formation. The power is extremely powerful. In combination with the magic light field, your annihilation force swept through on a large scale, even the top masters can't resist it. And these monsters present, except the two general monsters, most of the other monsters are just ordinary, a small number of elite, and these monsters have no immortality at all, facing this horrible annihilation force, and how can I resist? Disaster is here. For the many monsters present, this was a disaster, a block they could not resist. I saw a mournful sigh of wailing throughout the world. Under the terrible annihilation power of a monster, the body was crushed directly into powder, and even the life core of the abdomen was annihilated and crushed. Almost in a blink of an eye, among the more than 100,000 monsters, those who were just ordinary level monsters were all killed. As for those monsters at the elite level, they could barely support them for a while, but they were annihilated. Disaster. Nightmare. In this scene, I am afraid that in the future, it will become the dream demon in the heart of countless monsters in this dim demon domain. Silence. The whole world is silent. The hysterical roars and mourning sounds that had come out before that had ceased completely. And in this void, the countless dark red monsters that had originally gathered are now gone. The whole void, the whole world, empty. After 10 breaths, Jian Wushuang's original power of the original universe dissipated, the golden light of the sky also reconverged, and the burning of the divine power in Jian Wushuang's body has also stopped. Many methods have stopped, and Jian Wushuang raised his head, looking around the empty void around him, and his face could not help showing a cheerful smile. Won. I won. Yes, Jian Wushuang won the bet. He squeezed everything into the move he had just done. He used that trick to turn the situation around. Once he can't turn around, he will surely die, there is no possibility of struggling. But in the end, he won. More than 100,000 monsters died in this short period of time in the annihilation of Gold Light and the strangulation of the realm. Only the 2 monsters who reached the rank of the survivor survived on stronger strength. But these 2 general monsters alone can no longer pose a threat to Jian Wushuang. Ha ha ha. I knew that my sword Wushuang's life would not be so easy to lose. Jian Wushuang laughed loudly, and laughed wildly. The opposite of Jian Wushuang Ring is the 2 monsters who survived. Roar. Roar. The dark red pupils of these 2-level monsters stare like lanterns, and the depths of those pupils are astonished and shocked like never before. Their hearts were shaking and trembling. More than 100,000 ghosts, they have tangled with more than 100,000 ghosts, just to kill the humans in front of them. But now, this human has used incredible means to kill more than 100,000 companions in one go. How can they accept this result? The companions you called are extinct, and you too, go with your companions. Jian Wushuang's indifferent laughter resounded. With his body moving, he had already killed the monsters at both ends. Although the show just showed a great drain on his divine power, now that the divine power in his body is almost exhausted, Jian Wushuang still has a heavy means, that is, the Emperor's demeanor once cultivated. The Imperial Avatar is a secret technique left by the Lord of the Blood North, which has helped him greatly. But with the sword becoming more and more powerful, especially after breaking through to reach the ruler, this secret technique has become a chicken rib. After all, the role of the Imperial Avatar is not to conquer the battle, it is only used to store divine power. Jian Wushuang previously refined an Empire Avatar, but that Empire Avatar was made from the body of the ruler's body, which can be pure. The amount of divine power is almost the same as that of the normal ruler. When Jian Wushuang is only a saint, this Imperial Avatar is of great use to him, but when he reaches the ruler of the rule, his divine power is vast, and the divine power that can be stored by a single Imperial Avatar comes to him. That is minimal. But now, under the premise that the sword unparalleled divine power is almost exhausted, the divine power provided by the Emperor's Avatar, which is comparable to the rule of the general rule, is of great use to sword unparalleled. At least this part of the power is enough to make him kill the 2 monsters in front of him. Dead. In the sword without eyes, the intention of killing condensed, and Huangquan's Excalibur immediately turned into 2 phantoms and ran out. The void was cut apart between these 2 terrible illusions. There was also the power of that cosmic law. It is this cosmic law that brings the power of these 2 phantoms to a whole new level. Too fast. With the law of the universe blessing 2 phantoms, the speed is so fast that the general monsters that are still in terror at the 2 ends can't resist at all. I saw these 2 phantoms passing by the bodies of the 2 monsters at the 2 ends. There was no room for struggling at the 2 ends, and the core of the life was directly broken to death. Looking at the corpses of the 2 general monsters at the foot, Jian Wushuang nodded with satisfaction. This general monster is powerful, and the combat power is definitely the best among the 2nd-level primary masters. I did not use the dragon to destroy it before. Mysticism, against one of them, is in a disadvantage, but now. I also did not perform dragon mystery, but with the blessing of the law of the universe, it is easy to kill them. Dear, click in and give a good comment. The higher the score, the faster the update. It is said that a beautiful wife was found at the end of the new score. Chapter 38-29. Second more. The law of the universe is originally the supreme power of the vast universe, and it is the supreme power that is truly qualified to enlighten the mastered power. Like Demon Flame, he was an ultimate master at first, and his strength was absolutely the best among the masters. Even if he encountered other masters at the ultimate level, he was not afraid of it, but he encountered a glimpse at first. The rule of the universe ruled, and only one soul body escaped by chance. Realizing a trace of the law of the universe is so huge to dominate ascension, not to mention the ruler. Jian Wushuang now understands a piece of cosmic law. With this blessing of cosmic law, his strength is much improved than before. Even if you don't use dragon extermination, it is easy to kill such a monster. The laws of the universe have been comprehended, and the crisis has been lifted. I don't need to stay in this dim demonic field. Jian Wushuang smiled. He came to wander in the darkened demon realm. It was for the sake of life and death experience, so that he could make a breakthrough. It is best to be able to grasp a trace of the law of the universe. And just now, he has already passed by on the edge of life and death, and has re-experienced that unique feeling. The most important thing is the law of the universe. He has also realized a little. It can be said that his purpose of coming to this dim demon realm has been fully achieved. It is natural that there is no need to continue to rush. There is one more thing, that is this dim demon realm, which is indeed too dangerous. The countless monsters in all corners are scary. Don't watch Jian Wushuang kill more than 100,000 monsters in one breath, but Jian Wushuang knows clearly that these monsters he killed now are less than the entire dim 1/10 of the monster in the domain. And this dim demon realm is not just that simple on the surface. The sword has no intuition. There must be something else hidden in the dim demon realm. Like the two general monsters, Jian Wushuang did not encounter the first time when they seized the life nuclear fragments. It was discovered after the second seizure. The two general monsters are probably from deeper in the dim demonic realm. In other words, there is greater danger in the deeper. If I didn't realize a trace of the law of the universe, I might go a bit deeper, but now it is not necessary. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. He really doesn't need to continue here anymore, but he can just leave. Of course, his divine power is almost exhausted now, and the first thing to do is to apply some divine power before leaving. Not only that, but there are two other life nuclear fragments on the previous bloodstone. Although he has now realized a trace of the law of the universe, he has no previous desire for those two pieces of life nuclear fragments, but if it can be obtained, it would be the best. Jian Wushuang found a place near this place and began to slowly recover the divine power. Jian Wushuang is the perfect life, and the divine power is too vast. Of course, it will take longer to recover. Jian Wushuang spent 4 months, and also absorbed a large amount of rejuvenating elixir and genius. The divine power in his body has also been restored. As soon as the divine power was restored, Jian Wushuang's combat power was at its peak again, and immediately he left for the bloodstone. This is the third time that Jian Wushuang came near the bloodstone. For the first time, there were only thousands of monsters guarding the bloodstone, and the strongest were only elite-level monsters. Near the bloodstone are tens of thousands of monsters to guard, and 2 extremely powerful generals. Now, Jian Wushuang came here for the third time, but stumbled to find that there were only 200 or 300 monsters guarding this bloodstone. Apparently because of the previous strangulation of Jian Wushuang, too many monsters were killed at one time, and the monsters in this area were almost slaughtered. Now it is only 4 months later, and they arrived in this area from other places. There are not enough monsters. Although the number of monsters is much smaller than before, the remaining 2 life nuclear fragments are still intact and hovering above the bloodstone. These monsters are really... Jian Wushuang couldn't help sighing. The monsters knew that they had gone to the life nuclear fragment, and they had already been 2 times in a row, but they still didn't know how to put away the 2 life nuclear fragments or hide them. If they were hiding, there would be no way for the sword to match, but it was clear that these monsters did not do so. Perhaps the shards of life are too sacred to these monsters, and these monsters dare not touch them easily. Jian Wushuang could only think like this. With less than 300 heads of monsters, it is naturally impossible to stop Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang did not need any plans this time, and rushed straight towards the bloodstone, killing all the monsters blocking him, easily stepping on the bloodstone, and leaving the remaining 2 on the bloodstone. The pieces of life nuclear debris were also included in Changken's ring, and then they left directly. Although those monsters were furious, they also tried to hunt down Jian Wushuang, but Jian Wushuang's current strength, even if besieged by more than 100,000 monsters, he relied on the strangulation power of the combination of Julong Tiantian array and the magic light field. You can easily get out of the crisis. Not to mention that now this area can't gather so many monsters at all. Natural sword Wushuang can easily get rid of these monsters. It was 2 pieces of life nuclear fragments in hand, and Jian Wushuang's heart was beautiful. These 2 life nuclear fragments are not small in size. They may contain more cosmic power than the previous 2. If I absorb the cosmic power of the 2 life nuclear fragments, I will have an understanding of the laws of the universe. Is it possible to improve a little? Jian Wushuang could not help thinking. Master, these 2 pieces of life nuclear fragments, I advise you not to absorb them. The sound of the magic flame suddenly sounded why. Jian Wushuang frowned. The cosmic power contained in the life nuclear fragments helped him a lot. Even though he has now realized a little cosmic law, which can absorb the cosmic power of 2 life nuclear fragments, his perception of the cosmic law can be improved to a certain extent, which will greatly help his strength improvement. Master, now you directly absorb the cosmic power in these 2 pieces of life and nuclear fragments. This can indeed improve your perception of the laws of the universe, but the enhancement is also very limited. More than 99% of the cosmic power will be wasted in the process of your absorption, which is really extravagant. Magic Flame said. Luxury. Jian Wushuang stunned. He just wanted to improve his strength as much as possible, but there was no concept of luxury in his mind. Chapter 38:30. Third more. Magic Flame, do you say that it is a luxury for me to absorb these 2 pieces of life core? Yes. Mo Yang nodded. In the vast universe, it is extremely extravagant and wasteful to absorb the cosmic power by absorbing the power of the cosmos. The master has not understood the cosmic law before, so that's just luxury. But now I have learned a little bit of the law of the universe, and then such extravagance is a bit irrational. But besides absorbing the cosmic power of the period, what else can this nuclear fragment do? Jian Wushuang frowned. For the master and you now, there is really only the only purpose of forcibly absorbing the power of the universe, but for many practitioners in the vast universe, it is completely different. The magic flame is true, I told the master you before, the immortal ghost is a treasure all over the body, and the most important thing is its life core, which is the mad battle for countless supreme masters. Although the master you now get is only life core debris, its value is still extraordinary. Don't talk about the supreme, just talk about the master. In the vast universe, there are countless masters' desire for the laws of the universe. Unfortunately, I can really realize a trace of the laws of the universe at the level of the master. Little pity, even at the peak of me, did not really understand a trace of the law of the universe. And the nucleus of your life in the hands of your master will enable you, a ruler, to realize a trace of the laws of the universe, not to mention the master. I'm sure that any master who reaches the ultimate level can get a piece. Such a life nuclear fragment can easily comprehend a trace of the law of the universe. From this, you can imagine that if the life nuclear fragment is known to those who are the masters. Jian Wushuang felt a shock in his heart. Only half of the words of the magic flame, Jian Wushuang already understood. The life core of the undead ghost is of immense value. Even if it is only a life core fragment, it is enough to make many supreme eyesight and enough to make countless ultimate levels dominate the madness. Such a treasure is really not very useful in his own strength. Even if it is forcibly absorbed, it is at least a little more advanced in the laws of the universe. It will not increase the strength too much, but if he goes to the depths of the universe in the future, these 2 pieces of life nuclear debris are very useful. At that time, he just needs to spread the news casually saying that he wants to sell the lifeless nuclear fragments of the undead ghost. He believes that there will be countless masters coming to him, and he will buy life nuclear fragments from him at all costs. It is better to rely on these 2 pieces of life and nuclear fragments for huge benefits, or simply to exchange a lot of wealth, than it is now forcibly to absorb the cosmic power of the period, and to be a little more advanced in the laws of the universe. You're right. These 2 life nuclear fragments are not very useful to me now, but they are more useful to others, and I don't need to forcefully absorb the 2 life nuclear fragments of the universe now. Wei Neng went to improve such a small part of his strength, but he took it first, waited for it later, and then took it out. Jian Wushuang smiled. After returning these 2 pieces of life and nuclear to Chenkuan Ring, Jian Wushuang set out and ran away from the darkened demon realm. After spending several days, Jian Wushuang finally came out of the darkened realm. Come out. After leaving the darkened realm, Jian Wushuang still couldn't help but look at the dark red forest with a cold and dark breath in the back, but sighed secretly in the bottom of his heart. In the forbidden area, there were only 3 top masters in the history of this starfield before, and alive came out of this dim demon field, but starting today, there are 4. Jian Wushuang, came out. Jian Wushuang smiled lightly. On this trip to the dark demon realm, his gains were very great, and he had fully met expectations. He himself was very content. And in the future, maybe one day he will come to this dim demon realm again to understand the real secrets in the deepest part of the dim demon realm, but it is certainly not recent. Xianshan, space-time, cut sky, heaven ancestor, I have come out of the dark domain. Jian Wushuang also sent a message to his 4 friends for the first time. The 4 knew he had gone to the darkened realm. As for his relatives and friends in the early gods, he only knew that he had come to the battlefield outside the early gods, but did not know how dangerous he went. After Jian Wushuang came out of the dim demon realm, he also fought with them. Say hello. Within the Star Palace. It was learned that Jian Wushuang came out alive from the darkened demon realm, and the 4 people, the Xianshan Taoist, the Lord of Time and Space, the Lord of the Heavens, and the Heavenly Ancestor were all very excited. Haha, come out, Tianhu Xiaoyu, he really came out alive from the dim demon realm, it's great. Xian Shinto laughed, and the laughter was extremely happy. Well, just come out, I have been nervous before, I'm afraid he will be planted there. Zhetian Alliance sighed lightly. Yeah, the dreaded demon realm, such a dangerous place, even if the top master enters it, it is a 9-death life, and only 3 top masters in our star domain history came out alive from inside, so dangerous, who cares? Fortunately, Tianhu Xiaoyu has come out alive. From now on, there are 4 people who have come out of the dim demon realm, and Tianhu Xiaoyu is just a master of rules. Full-faced smile. He is a great friend, Tianhu. Tianzu said these words heavily. The 4 of them were frightened when they learned that Jian Wushuang was going to go to the darkened demon realm, and they tried a lot of times during the period to try to dispel the idea of Jian Wushuang, but they failed to stop Jian Wushuang. After the sword Wushuang really entered the darkened realm, the 4 of them have been worried, for fear that the sword Wushuang is planted in it after all. The importance of the sword Wushuang to them is too great for the whole of the early world. That was their only chance. Fortunately, Jian Wushuang came out alive now, and they were finally relieved. Xianshan, please ask him quickly, he can gain something in the dim demon realm? The main hall of space and time. I'm already asking. Mysterious Shinto smiled, and soon got a reply. Tianhu Xiaoyu said, this time he has gained something in the dim demon domain, and the harvest is not small, at least he has reached him expected, but he didn't say anything about it, and I didn't ask much. As long as he meets his own expectations, we don't care about the rest. The master of space and time laughed. Yes, since he has already come out of the dim demon realm, should he return to the Star Palace immediately? Chapter 38-31. Forthmore. I ask. The mysterious Shinto smiled and continued to inquire. But after asking, the mysterious Shinto man appeared strange. What's wrong? The other 3 immediately looked over. Tianhu Xiaoyu said that he would not return directly to Shingong, but would go to the Red Cloud Realm first. Xianshan humane. Red Cloud Realm? The several masters present looked at each other. These few of us, including the many powerful people in this starfield, often wait for the Red Cloud Realm to open again. This sword is so good that we don't even have to wait for the Red Cloud Realm to open and just enter the Red Cloud Realm ourselves. The beast-cutting confession skeptical. How do you envy? If you have the ability to pass the test of Qianfeng Peak, maybe you can get the same treatment as Tianhu Xiaoyu. Tianzu played with taste. Treading Qianfeng? The leader of the Cut Sky Alliance smiled bitterly. Well, Tianhu Xiaoyu can directly enter the news of the Red Cloud Realm, don't spread it. He is going to the Red Cloud Realm now. There should be important things to do. We don't need to ask more. That's it. Waved. Deep in Devil's Smoke Valley, Jian Wushuang coming out of the darkened demon realm did not intend to return to the Shingong, but first went to the Red Cloud Realm. In the Red Cloud Realm, the test of the second heaven is there. He didn't understand a single rule of the universe before, so he couldn't break through the test again. But now he has this ability. As long as you can pass the second-day test of the Red Cloud Realm, you can choose 3 of the many treasures in the Red Cloud Realm. You know, It was the ancestors of Red Cloud who stayed in the Red Cloud world personally. Anything is a treasure. Even in the vast universe, it is enough to cause a storm. Even the lore treasures have some. Of course, the most important thing is that among the many treasures in the Red Cloud realm, there is also a heart of the astral realm. That is the treasure that Jian Wushuang attaches the most importance to and needs most. His wife was so frosty that he needed that astral heart to be able to condense a new body and be able to truly reunite with him. This astral heart, he got it anyway. It was impossible to get it before, but now it has this strength, and Jian Wushuang can't wait. Jian Wushuang swept all the way from the depths of the magic smoke valley, speed is very fast, did not hide his body, naturally on the way also encountered the master of some rules in the depths of the magic smoke valley. The master of these rules found the sword unparalleled and was shocked. You know, Jian Wushuang entered the dim demon domain at first, but this was seen by somebody, and the news has spread throughout the star domain. At that time, many strong players in this star field were secretly discussing, and some people felt that Jian Wushuang was so brave and admired him. But some people say that he is stupid, too arrogant, and obviously has endless potential, but he has to choose to kill him in the darkened demon realm. There are also people who think that Jian Wushuang can no longer walk out of the dim demon realm and take pleasure in it. In short, this incident caused a great sensation in this star field, and almost 99 people thought that Jian Wushuang feared that it would be difficult to come out of the dim demon field alive. But now, Jian Wushuang stepped out of the dim demon realm. Come out. The Lord of the Blood Sword actually came out alive from the darkened realm? How is it possible? The dim demon domain, even the top masters entered it are all dead. The Lord of the Blood Sword is just the rule master. Although the strength is comparable to the top masters, it should be the bottom master. Yes, how can he come out alive from the darkened realm? Not necessarily. Although the darkened realm is dangerous, but as far as I know, the top masters can still make breakthroughs, but they can't get any chances. After all, the secrets and chances of the darkened realm are deep. Department, and deeper, it is much more dangerous. The Lord of the Blood Sword is likely to rely on his own strength comparable to the top master, and walked around at the outermost part of the darkened demon realm. Yes, it is very likely that, if he is the ruler of the rule, if he goes to the depths of the darkened demon realm, I will not believe that he can still come out alive. The news that Jian Wushuang came out alive from the darkened demon domain spread. Countless powerful people are discussing this matter, and they all have their own views. But Jian Wushuang didn't bother with it at all. He walked out of the depths of Moyangu all the way, soon left Moyangu, and then rushed towards Hongsha Mountain at the fastest speed. After arriving at the Redstone Mountain, Jian Wushuang took out the token given by Lord Wu directly to me. With the guidance of the token, Jian Wushuang easily found the entrance to the Red Cloud realm and entered it. In the Red Cloud realm, Jian Wushuang just left here more than 20 years ago, but now Jian Wushuang is back here again. Jian Wushuang's first arrival is the first heaven of the Red Cloud realm. Just arrived here. Little guy, come straight up from Taishanfeng, you can fly straight up, and it won't be hindered. The voice of Lord Wu has already sounded in Jian Wushuang's heart. Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate, and dared to rush to Qianqian Peak at the fastest speed, and then ignored the heavy restrictions on the Qianqian Peak and proceeded directly to the top of the Qianqian Peak. The Haze Master is already waiting there. Jian Wushuang, it's only been more than 20 years, you're here? Master Wu looked at Jian Wushuang strangely. Master Fog, the juniors came this time to test the second sky. Jian Wushuang said directly. Oh. Master Wu stared for a moment. I told you before, the test of the second day, you must understand a little cosmic law before you can break through. Do you already understand a little cosmic law now? This is over for more than 2 decades, it is impossible. Even from the perspective of Master Wu, he did not believe that in just 20 years, Jian Wushuang had realized a trace of the law of the universe. Is there a comprehension? I will know when I go there once. Jian Wushuang smiled. Very confident. It seems that I really understand. Master Wu smiled slightly, but followed by a wave, a space channel appeared out of thin air. Come with me. Jian Wushuang immediately followed Master Wu and entered the second sky of the Red Cloud realm, that is, the island with many opportunities. The test of the second sky is in the towering palace in the middle of the island. You go. Master Wu pointed to the direction of the palace. Jian Wushuang nodded his head, his figure flickered, and soon came to the towering palace. The ancient atmosphere of the palace exudes a special atmosphere. Jian Wushuang did not stay in front of the palace, and stepped directly into the palace. Chapter 38-32. Fifth More. Inside the palace, there is no cave. This is a huge and unspoiled ancient martial arts field. There is nothing over the martial arts field. When Jian Wushuang appeared on this ancient martial arts field, hey, a figure fell from the sky. The dark armors and boots also have dark trenches on their heads. The whole body is extremely huge and looks like a black hill. This man from the sky has a very stout body. Haha. It's been many years, and finally someone came to Laro Tsu. The sturdy man in the dark armor of the whole body made a low hissing sound, and the eyes like the dark gems had completely locked the sword unparalleled. Looking at the test on the first heavy step on Tianfeng, do I need to defeat the opponent in front of me? Jian Wushuang also stared at the sturdy man in front of him. Intuition told him that this sturdy man should be very strong. But he didn't care. First of all, the test of the Red Cloud world did not imply a crisis of life and death. Secondly, Master Wu has said that as long as he understands a bit of the law of the universe, he can pass through this retest, and then this retest cannot help him. Boy, for the first time in many years you have come to Laro Tsu. Laro Tsu will have fun with you, and will not try to beat you all the time next time. The sturdy man sneered. Then I advise you to come up with all your strength from the beginning, otherwise, you will not have this opportunity. Jian Wushuang chuckled. Ha ha, good boy, look at the sword. The sturdy man used a weapon and even a 3-meter-long sword. This sword was domineering and his attack was extremely simple and rude. Wow! With an outrageous slash, Jian Wushuang instantly felt the existence of a total of 6 kinds of heaven and earth rules from this sword, and these 6 kinds of heaven and earth rules were perfectly integrated. At the same time, the sword also contains the extremely rich origin of the knife path universe, which makes this knife slash down, and the layers of void produce a phantom. What a delicate sword! Jian Wushuang couldn't help but marvel. Although he is not good at knife path, Kendo has a lot in common with knife path, and his perception of the origin of Kendo universe is extremely high. Now he can see at a glance that the sturdy man's origin of the knife path universe contained in this sturdy man's swordsmanship is extremely rich. His perception of the origin of the knife path universe is at least not lower than his own perception of the origin of the sword world and even stronger. Jian Wushuang also immediately shot. Huang Quan's Excalibur waved, also with a strong origin of Kendo universe. In the blink of an eye, the two collided in the void, creating a fierce spark. Ha, 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 ha. The speed of Jian Wushuang broke out completely, moving close and close again and again, in an attempt to gain an advantage in the fierce battle with this sturdy man by relying on his body. But the sturdy man also issued a black streamer, as if all the black ghosts were confusing, and the speed was faster than Jian Wushuang, to a strange degree, even above Jian Wushuang's body. As for divine power, the two are completely equivalent. Clang, 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 clang. On the ancient martial arts field, Jian Wushuang fought fiercely with this sturdy man, and the battle was fierce. The sturdy man is faintly better than Jian Wushuang in both knife path understanding and swordsmanship, but this gap is very small. Jian Wushuang can still fight with his front. In a short time, this sturdy it is also difficult for men to gain the upper hand. Haha, it's not bad. You can persist in the hands of Laro Tsu for so long without even falling into the wind. Your talents are stronger than those of the disciples and even a small number of inner disciples. I personally set the test of Laro Tsu, but it is a lot higher in difficulty. Depending on your current strength, you can't break through the level of Laro Tsu. The sturdy man laughed. Suddenly he stretched out his hand, and on the other empty palm, a similar 3-meter-long knife appeared. What? Jian Wushuang was startled. Just wielding a sword, the strength of this sturdy man's outburst is faintly suppressing him. Now this sturdy man has two big swords at the same time. And with this sturdy man's shot and waving two handles at the same time, the sword is unparalleled and he can see that he is using a double blade. The two large blades are in a rush to show them. In the face of a sturdy man who has just used a sword, Sword Wushuang can also compete head-on without falling into the wind. But now facing two large knives at the same time, Jian Wushuang can only passively resist. Once one or two go, Jian Wushuang fell completely into the downwind. With a dull sound, Jian Wu's stature suddenly exploded, widening the distance from the sturdy man. "Haha, boy, you are not my opponent, you should leave first, and come back next time." The sturdy man looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile. Jian Wushuang also laughed. No wonder Lord Fog said that only by grasping a bit of the laws of the universe can he break through the test of the second day. This guy is really terrible. Jian Wushuang admired. After entering this palace, he found that his divine power was limited. He could only exert the power of ordinary primary masters. Any other mysterious means of improving divine power could not be performed, and the sturdy man's divine power is also the primary dominating level, just like him. The divine power is quite the same. The competition is naturally the understanding of Tao, the skill of swordsmanship and knives. However, this sturdy man has a very high level of understanding of the knife path and the method of swordsmanship. He has already merged the 6 heaven and earth rules, and the swordsmanship contains the power of the fusion of the 6 rules. In almost every respect, he is stronger than himself. Especially when the two big swords came out, he was not an opponent at all. In this case, even if he had a great improvement in swordsmanship or sword art, he was afraid that he would not be able to really this sturdy man defeated, so there is only one possibility to defeat this sturdy man. Realize a trace of the law of the universe. Boy, why are you still not willing to give up? The sturdy man looked at Jian Wushuang with interest. Give up? You think too much. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently, and then shot again. The same shot, the same as this sturdy man close-killed, even the swordsmanship is the same, but the difference is that this time when the sword unparalleled swordsmanship performed the sword, there is a special force contained in the sword. This special power is simply the trace of the cosmic law he has comprehended. With the integration of this cosmic law, the sword skill of Jian Wushuang is completely different. Chapter 38-33. Sixth more. You, the law of the universe. The sturdy man also instantly noticed the changes in Jian Wushuang's sword operation, and his pupils stared round. He is the master of the rules. Did he really realize a trace of the laws of the universe? The sturdy man's face was incredible. He is still in this red cloud realm, and I do not know how many years. He is very clear about the significance of this retest. A ruler who wants to pass his test must comprehend a rule of the universe. In order to receive the true disciples, Zhu deliberately increased the difficulty of the test. Since the red cloud burst, the sturdy man thought that no one would meet such requirements. But now someone really arrived. Genius, a super genius is rare in billions of stars. I met one today. The sturdy man couldn't help but be excited. No choice but to be excited. The ruler can comprehend a bit of the law of the universe. Such a super genius is absolutely rare even in the vast universe. Anyone, even if placed in the deepest part of the universe, will be regarded as a treasure by those top powers, and countless top-level supremes are eager to receive such geniuses as disciples. Like the original Red Cloud ancestors, although there were many disciples and even true disciples under Hongyun's pulse, the Red Cloud ancestors were not very satisfied with these disciples, so they deliberately increased the second-day test of the Red Cloud realm. The difficulty is to collect such a disciple for careful training. But whoever thought that such a disciple had not yet been found, the ancestor of Hongyun himself was dead, and even the whole vein of Hongyun was directly destroyed, and the kingdom of God collapsed. The ancestor of Red Cloud is a top-level supreme, and he did not even have the opportunity to accept such a disciple. It is conceivable how dazzling and remarkable the super talent in this level is in the universe. There is no doubt that, as long as the genius does not fall midway, it must be a top existence in the future, and it must be a big man. Even if this sturdy man is in the strongest period, he will finally dominate the hierarchy. It will certainly be exciting and even honored to see such a super genius. As for the next test, the moment sword warriors applied the law of the universe, the sturdy man knew that he could not stop sword warriors. Because once the law of the universe is used, no matter whether it is powerful or subtle, the swordsmanship of swordsmanship is far from being able to compare. Even if you use two large swords at the same time, you can show as much strength as possible. Was crushed by the sword unparalleled. Sure enough, the final result was naturally that Jian Wushuang easily lifted to win. This second cloud test of the Red Cloud Realm, Jian Wushuang broke through. Outside the palace, Master Wu stood there. He had received the news that Jian Wushuang had passed the test of the second day, but his eyes couldn't help getting wet. For many years, I've been in a red cloud. Finally, a super genius rarely seen in the billions of stars has finally appeared, and finally someone has truly met the requirements of the master, but his master has already. If this little guy was born early, dozens of chaos ages have come to this red cloud realm early and have been met by the host, how good it is. Master Wu felt a little emotion, but there was a trace of sadness in his heart. The gate of the palace opened, and Jian Wushuang, who had passed the test, came out slowly from the inside. Master Wu, fortunately shameless. Jian Wushuang came to Master Wu with a smile. Well, you are very good. Master Wu also nodded in appreciation. He had to appreciate it. Super geniuses rarely seen in billions of stars, and Jian Wushuang itself is a more rare perfect life. The combination of these two, Jian Wushuang's future potential is simply inestimable. If such a super genius is his master, Hongyun the ancestor is definitely going to fight mad like crazy. Of course, he can only praise the excellent swordsman. Come on, go with me to the third heaven. With a wave of his hand, Master Wu, another space channel immediately appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. The third heaven of the Red Cloud Realm is above an ancient altar. This altar has a range of tens of thousands of miles, and the ground is empty, and nothing else exists. Jian Wushuang and Lord Wu are on this altar, standing face to face. Little guy, you have passed the test of the double sky of the Red Cloud Realm. From today on, you are a disciple of Red Cloud's inner disciples. Mist Wu said. Sword warrior nodded slightly, his appearance remained unchanged. Of course, the identity of the disciples in Hongyun Imai might have been a little heavier if put in the past, but now, even if they say it, not many people know. Even if they know, many of them are the enemies of Hongyun Imai. Therefore, if you go to the depths of the universe in the future, it is better not to reveal this identity easily. Mist Humane. Jian Wushuang nodded again. Hongyun Ipu, the old ancestor of Hongyun once was the top and supreme, even opened up a great kingdom of God. At that time Hongyun Ipu can be said to be extremely strong, but at the same time, Hongyun Ipu will certainly have many enemies. Existence, whether it is to compete with it on the bright side, or because it is not strong enough, can only choose to hide in secret, the number is certainly a lot. Now that Red Cloud's pulse has been destroyed, if he takes the identity of the disciple inside Hongyun Pulse to go to the depths of the universe, I am afraid it will be easy to attract some strong men who have had hatred with Red Cloud's pulse to come and kill him. According to the rules established by the host at the beginning, you can now choose 3 of the many treasures in the Red Cloud Realm as your reward. After finishing speaking, Lord Wu, he waved his hand stunned, and instantly the surrounding void pieces of treasure emerged one after another. These treasures are of all kinds, and all exude an extremely unique atmosphere. Treasures are here, you can pick them yourself, if you don't understand, you can ask me. Master Wu. Jian Wushuang's eyes released a special light, looking around at the many treasures that appeared in front of him. These treasures are suspended there one by one, and any one of them makes Jian Wushuang extremely extraordinary, and all these treasures add up to hundreds. 104. Jian Wushuang already knows the exact number of these treasures. A total of 104 treasures were left by the ancestors of Hongyun, and any one of the 104 treasures was taken out to go. It is enough for many masters to be blinded and even crazy. Where's that astral heart? Jian Wushuang asked. Astral heart? With a look of Master Wu, he slightly beckoned. Among the 104 treasures, one of the milky white light floated towards him. Chapter 38-34. The first is more. This is the heart of the astral world. Looking at the milky light group in front, Zhen Wushuang was extremely excited. The heart of the astral world is the essence of the endless years accumulated by one side of the astral world, and it is extremely versatile. And with this astral heart, you can create a new body. This body's innate advantages will be extremely huge, and the talent potential is excellent. Too much. Master Fog, this first treasure, I will choose this astral heart. Zhen Wushuang did not hesitate. 3 treasures, the first must be the heart of the astral world. With this astral heart, he can truly reunite with his wife. Well. Master Wu nodded slightly, and was not surprised by Zhen Wushuang's choice. This astral heart, you are used to restore the body of your wife, but the 2 remaining treasures, you better choose your own. Master Wu said. Of course. Zhen Wushuang smiled, and even among the remaining 103 treasures, Shen began to carefully select them. There are 2 treasures that can be selected. First of all, Sword Wushuang must choose a rule treasure that is suitable for his own use, and it is best to have a magic sword suitable for himself. So Zhen Wushuang first looked at those rules of treasure. Among the 103 treasures, the proportion of the rule of the treasure is quite large, almost half, and among these many rules of the treasure, the rule of the magic sword type treasure is only 2 handles. Zhen Wushuang's eyes were locked directly on one of the exquisite swords. It was a black exquisite sword exuding gloom. The black Excalibur gradually floated there. There was nothing strange in this look, but Zhen Wushuang had a very high sense of the origin of the Kendo universe. When he saw this black Excalibur, his pupils narrowed sharply. Under the surface calmness, this black Excalibur hides an unprecedented coldness and darkness. The most important thing is that this black magic sword has an incredible power. This power seems to be able to tear everything in the heavens and the earth. At the moment when Zhen Wushuang stared at this black power sword, the power in the black power sword was as powerful as tear his soul in half. Heartbreaking and frightening. What a terrible Excalibur. Zhen Wushuang was excited physically and mentally. Among the many Excaliburs he has seen, there is no doubt that this black Excalibur is the most terrifying. Even the strongest Huang Baoquan Excalibur in his hand, compared with this black Excalibur, is more star-studded than Haoyue, without any comparability at all. Master Wu, what is the name of this magic sword? Zhen Wushuang asked. Magic sword Wu Cry. Wu Die Humane. There are countless various cosmic treasures in the Red Cloud realm, even the strongest cosmic treasures. Master Mist is too lazy to remember the name, but the 104 treasures left by the ancestor of Red Cloud himself, anyone they are always remembered clearly, not only their names, but also their level and purpose. Wu Wei. Zhen Wushuang stunned, this name is so strange. It's weird, but the power isn't weak. Why, you want this magic sword? Master Wu looked over. Sword Wushuang looked around at the other rules of the treasure, and then nodded, the second treasure, I want this Wu crying magic sword. Although there is another divine sword among these laws and treasures, the sword is a long sword with a wide blade and should be focused on power. This sword is unparalleled. After all, the swords that Zhen Wushuang has been using are extremely thin and extremely sharp. And that magic sword Wu Wei is an extremely sharp sword. Well, you have a good vision. Master Wu nodded with a smile. The rule of treasure is divided into 3 grades. Even if the rule of treasure is precious, only the masters of the 4th and 5th grades are generally eligible. The rule of Chinese goods is the treasure, which is usually used by the ultimate masters and a few weaker supremes. And the Wu weapon sword you have chosen is a top-class rule treasure, which is already the most supreme and used by the magic soldier. The rule of top grade is the most precious. Most of the supreme, are they using this level of soldiers? Zhen Wushuang's eyes suddenly lighted. He did not expect that the magic sword he had chosen was not only a rule of treasure, but also a top-grade one, and the value was obviously higher than that of ordinary low and medium quality rules. Suddenly most supreme use only this level of magic soldiers, but there are some extremely powerful, reaching the highest level of supreme, such as the level of the ancestor of Red Cloud. What level of rule is the most precious? Zhen Wushuang could not help asking. Up to the level of the master, the strength of the world is terrific. The magical treasures they use have already surpassed the rule of treasures and reached a whole new level. Of course, that level is far away from you. Now you just want to. It's too early to give full play to the power of this Wu Cry sword. Jian Wushuang smiled dumbly. Indeed, the rule is precious, and it is generally necessary to understand a little bit of the cosmic law to be able to barely exert its power. This is just barely exerting a little power, but not all power. Just a rule of inferior quality is a treasure, and Jian Wushuang is afraid that he can barely master the show, let alone a rule of superior quality. You have already picked 2 treasures, and there is one last chance left. You will cherish it, said Master Wu. Well, the sword had no double focus. He also knew that this opportunity was rare. Of the remaining 102 treasures, any one of them is extremely valuable. Many of them are of great use to the sword, and he has only one last chance, so he must consider it carefully. The first consideration of Jian Wushuang is still the rule of treasure. After all, he now only got Wu Xing's attack on the magic soldier even after returning to the early world of the gods. Refining the town's sky monument is only a repressive rule. Tianbei is extremely special. As for the treasures of the treasure, realm, and flying, he doesn't have any. If he can get a warframe type of treasure, it will be enough to increase his body protection ability. The domain or flying category can also enhance his strength. As for other types of treasures, they may be extremely precious, but there are not many who can really improve his strength. He now has a heavy burden on his body. The whole life and death of the gods in the early days were on him, so it is the most urgent task to strengthen his own strength. Chapter 38-35. Second more. Jian Wushuang carefully looked at the rules of the treasure, and at the same time he could get some basic information from these rules of treasure. The band of intoxicants, the rule of inferiority, is extremely precious, and the ring can be formed to suppress the opponents. There are 5 different powers in the evil area. The first power, the power of evil, floods all areas of the field. After the practitioners fall into the field, they are not the first-ranking masters and cannot be resisted. They must die. The strength of the second series can be suppressed by 40%, and the speed of the third series is affected. Second-level power, the second-level dominator will die after falling into the field, and the third-level dominate. Third heavy power. When Jian Wushuang saw the message from the sinister ring, he could not help breathing down. Very scary. Is terrible. Once the realm is formed, the power of the evil fills all parts of the field. Within the scope of the field, any practitioner will be eroded by the power of the evil. The first power alone is enough to sweep all practitioners below the top master. In other words, if he got this insidious ring and showed the first power in the insidious ring field, it would be enough to easily kill more than half of the 100,000 monsters who had besieged him in the dim demonic realm directly. If he cooperated again, if the Shuangguang realm and Jiulong Tiantian array are performing with stronger power, I am afraid that the second-level elementary level masters will not be able to survive in this sinister realm. This is just the first power. It is worthy of the rule of treasure, although it is only substandard. Jian Wushuang hissed, and then looked at the other rule of treasure. Crazy battle gear, the rule of Chinese goods arcana battle gear, is divided into 4 powers. The first powerful power can evoke 1,000 times the power of the basic master. Second-level power can provoke 10,000 times the power of the base. Third heavy power. Jian Wushuang looked at the message from the rule of treasure, dazzled, and at the same time his heart was secretly shocked. The rule of treasure is indeed far from the average universe treasure can be compared. Even if it is the strongest level of the universe treasure, even if it is the best of them, it will take dozens of pieces before it can be exchanged for a rule of the lowest quality. The reason for this is indeed too much difference in power. There are dozens of rules in front of this dense treasure, and any one of them has earth-shattering power. But Jian Wushuang looked at the rules of the treasure, but his brows were already frowned. Although these laws are extremely powerful and valuable, the key is that my current strength is too weak, and I just realized a trace of the laws of the universe. With my current strength, I am afraid that most of the laws are precious. I can urge the first power, and some have lower thresholds, and can barely urge the second power, but the first power and the second power do not help me much. Jian Wushuang secretly said. It's simple. These strongest treasures in his hand now, after he mastered a little cosmic law, most of them have already been able to exert their powers. Like Yujin Dragon Armor, he can already urge the third power. The blessing of 60% of the dragon's power is a huge boost to his strength. And if it is replaced with the Mad Monster Armor of the highest treasure level of the rule of Chinese goods, he estimates that he can only barely give out the first power and exert 1,000 times the power of basic domination. Although it is 1,000 times the power of domination, but only on the basis of the divine power, it is estimated that 1,000 times has reached the power of the second-level higher master. Although for him, the power has also been greatly improved, but this improvement does not really surprise Jian Wushuang. Most of the other rules are the same. In other words, Wu Weapon Sword, as an attacking magic weapon, can increase the attack power of sword unparalleled, which is really useful to him. I only have one last chance. The treasures to be selected must be really useful to me, so that my strength soars, or treasures that can help me in the early world of God to better against the magic cloud star, and these other rules are precious. Maybe when I go to the universe battlefield in the future, my strength will gradually improve, and it will be more helpful to me, but at this stage, it is of limited usefulness to me. Jian Wushuang frowned, and continued to look at other rules of treasure. One piece of the rule, the precious treasure, floated from the front of Jian Wushuang, and Jian Wushuang was not too satisfied. But at this moment, a mini tower with 3 different colors, black, white and purple, suddenly appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang looked at the 3-color tower, and at the same time got the information of the tower. The triple path, the rule of inferior goods, is precious. Simple information. There is only the name of this precious treasure, the hierarchy, the others, but nothing, and it does not even indicate what type of rule is precious treasure. This makes Jian Wushuang strange. Master Wu, what is going on in this 3-color tower? Jian Wushuang asked. 3-colored tower? Master Wu looked at the 3-colored tower, but followed with a smile. That's the triple path, and it's a special rule. Special? What a special law? Jian Wushuang asked. If you want to say the type of the triple path, it should be regarded as the rule of the domain class. After all, this triple path contains the triple field, and the power is pretty good, at least better than the triple you took away when you left. The magic light mirror is much stronger, but it is far worse than other domain laws. Master Wu smiled. It's far worse than the other areas of the class rule arcana? Jian Wushuang stumbled. Although the power of the domain is indeed more valuable than other domain laws, but the real role of the triple path is not the domain, but the triple world contained in the triple path. This triple world is the world of cultivation. What do you mean? Jian Wushuang got interested. The triple cultivation world, as the name suggests, is used to help practitioners cultivate. Master Wu began to explain. The first one is the world of cultivation, that is, the tower exudes a black world, which contains a variety of laws of heaven and earth, including some unique cultivation environments, mainly aimed at saint-level practitioners, and some who reach the top of the saint. When a cultivator enters this first world, he can use these special cultivation environments to gradually understand a rule of heaven and earth in order to meet the requirements of those who break through the rules. End of this chapter. Chapter 38-36. Third more. That is to say, this first Taoist realm can help the undead saint to break through and become the ruler of the rule. Jian Wushuang's expression moved. Of course it can, and the effect is very great. Under normal circumstances, 10 saints who have reached the top level, after entering the first realm, spend some time trying to cultivate enlightenment. There should be 7 or 8, directly. Those who have broken through to the ruler, and the rest who have not broken through. If there is no way to break through to become the ruler in the first-class world, then unless he encounters great opportunities in the future, he is afraid that he will never want to break through again. Mist is humane. Jian Wushuang's eyes were fully lit. 10 undead saints, after entering the first realm, have 7 or even 8 who can directly break through and become the rulers. This effect was naturally useless to him, but it was too useful for many practitioners in the early world of the gods. You know, how many immortal saints in the early world of God? There are many at the top level of saints. Like when the blood world was opened, in order to win the possibility of breaking the rule of the rule, many sages suddenly entered more than 100,000 top sages. This is under the premise that all parties have agreed to limit the number of people. If there is no limit, there will be more saints pouring into the bloodstream. And the cultivation environment in this first way world may not be as good as the opportunity in the blood world, but it is probably not too bad. The difference is that the bloodwave world can only allow 10 people to get that chance at a time, and at most, only 10 people can break through and become the rule master. However, this first way world has no such restriction. As long as it is to enter, the top saints in the first realm can try to break through in the cultivation environment of the first realm. In other words, he completely relied on this first Tao realm to create a large number of rulers in the early divine realm. In the early days, there will be a battle between divine realm and magic cloud star sooner or later. Although the main force participating in the battle will definitely be the master at that time, if there are only hundreds or thousands of rulers, there must be no impact on the battle situation. Or even the master of hundreds of thousands of rules, the impact on the war situation will be greater. By the way, this triple world has 3 worlds. The first world is for the undead saint. What about the second world? Jian Wushuanglian asked. The second world, of course, is aimed at the ruler. Master Wu smiled. The second world of Tao also contains a lot of rules of heaven and earth, and is extremely rich and profound. It is enough to make it easier for the ruler to master the other. The rules of heaven and earth, as well as the process of the fusion of heaven and earth rules, can be said that the second Taoist realm can allow a weakest rule master to cultivate step by step to the top of the rule master. Even if luck well, you can practice all the way to the level of domination. Of course, if the ruler breaks through the ruler, then the probability cannot be as high as that of the first way. Under normal circumstances, 100 rulers who have reached the top level of the rule practice in the second way. Over time, there can be 2 or 3 who can break through and become the masters. Lord Wu said the wind was light and light, but Jian Wushuang heard it, but his head was a little cyanotic. 100 top-level rulers can wash their faces in the second-level path for a period of time. Can 2 or 3 break through and become the masters? Is this probability not high? You know, in this star field, the number of rule masters is endless, and the number of rule masters who reach the top level are endless. Can they dominate? All the masters in the entire star domain add up to less than 100. Like the early gods, there are no more than 5 alive masters. How hard can it be to become the master? In this star field, the masters of countless rules want to break through and become masters. However, they are not so capable and have no chance. After all, it is almost impossible for the masters of most rules to integrate the 4 rules. And there are places where 2 or 3 of them can break through. This is definitely a huge opportunity for many top rulers. Jian Wushuang can imagine that if he spreads this news, I am afraid that the entire astral field will be shaken, and the masters of countless rules will enter the second realm of madness, and it will be fine for them to pay a great price, because that the probability of breaking through the is too high, and it is worth their desperation. The first Tao realm is aimed at the undead saint, the second Tao realm is aimed at the ruler, then the third Tao realm, I senti it. Jian Wushuang couldn't help looking at the great humanity. You guessed it, the third Tao realm is aimed at the master. Of course, the master in the universe can also be regarded as a person. These 3 Tao realms are only the treasures of the rule of inferiority. Dominating the practice is helpful, but at most it is also useful for the first-ranking dominator. At the second-ranking dominating level, it is very difficult to continue to improve the strength by the triple path. Wutai humane. It's enough to help the first-level master. Jian Wushuang was extremely excited. The first level dominates 99% of the stars are dominated by the first rank, like the mysterious gods who are in the same camp with him, they are only dominated by the first rank, even in the first rank. Reaching the top level, this third Tao sector has a great effect on these few. The triple path realm may not be of much use to me, but it will be of much use to the whole early divine realm. If I bring this triple world back to Taichu divine realm, and then let the many immortal saints and rulers of Taichu Divine unconditionally enter and practice in it, then in a short period of time, my high-level combat power of Taichu Divinity with a 10-fold and a 100-fold increase. As long as I have enough time in the early divine realm, by then I will be able to create a large number of masters and rulers of countless rules. Even if the army of the demon star is killed, I can fight it positively with the combat power of the world. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly, and his eyes also shone with a strong light. Indeed, this triple realm is an incredible opportunity for countless practitioners in the early divine realm. In the early days, the realm of the gods can also rely on the triple path of the realm to increase its power in a short period of time. And Jian Wushuang's efforts to improve his strength so hard are to help Taichu Divine Realm get out of crisis. The help of the triple Taoism to Taichu Divine Realm is even greater than his help to Taichu Divine Realm. Master Fog, I've decided. For the last treasure, I will choose these triple paths. Jian Wushuang hardly need to consider. End of this chapter. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.